All join palms. And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time? Those of you here for the first time, welcome. What brings you here? Curious about
This temple here.
Yeah? What do you want to know? I tell you anything you want to know. What's your name? Jessica. We could just, like, for the next hour, I could just answer your questions about the temple. What do you want to know?
I've studied other types of spirituality my whole life, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I've just never sat in this temple before.
Nice.
My first experience was at the temple down the street. My first time meditating.
Yeah.
I was there at that temple, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So then it caused me to go on this whole exploration of spirituality, and now I'm with my daughter, first time. She wants to come to Buddhism.
Yeah.
To learn it, so I'm here with her.
Nice. You know where my first time was ever in a Buddhist temple? The same temple down the street. Yeah. 22 years ago.
About me too.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 30. Probably 30.
You were there 30 years ago? Really?
I think so.
Do you obviously remember?
Well, I was 22.
Okay.
I'm 49 now.
Yeah.
However long that was.
27. Close enough. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to lie. I like numbers. So, do you remember the nun who was there?
No.
Like, did you just go once?
I went a couple times.
Yeah.
I just sat in the room and did the walk around and everything.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. We probably sat with the same, Venerable Ijur would have been her name. That was my first teacher. Yeah. Probably who you sat with.
Yeah.
And wait, so you went there 27 years ago? Okay. That was before me. But yeah. I think
it was so amazing. I craved it so much that
I know.
just wanted to sit there in silence, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's what sitting in silence is.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'll stop picking on you, but I'm glad you're here. It's a special place. Yeah. So welcome. What else? First time here. I won't be that elaborate. Yeah. What brings?
Willie and my friends from the program Set Stone recommended, so I'm here open-minded.
Yeah, it's good.
I got the article.
I'm glad you're not sitting with them because then I won't assume that you're guilty by association. And I know the group up here pretty well. Yeah. Keep your distance for sure.
Wow.
So I guess it's going to be one of those nights. My mother always taught me you only tease the ones you love. You know, that's what she always said that to me. You only tease the ones you love, and I've been doing that ever since. So I will give you a lot of credit though. You stay at it. This practice, and for those of you who are maybe brand new for the first time here or have been at this stuff for years and years, the practice of diligence, the effort is no joke. It really is the practice, the effort, the diligence. That's what this statue here, Samantabhadra and the elephant, that's what he represents is great practice, great diligence. And, what it's referring to specifically is spiritual practice and cultivation, right? It's beneficial to work hard at anything in our lives and everything in our lives, but we can often work really hard at things that aren't so beneficial to ourselves or others. Habits that might not be the best, just kind of neutral activity, things like that. We can diligently watch Netflix for 8 hours straight, right? I mean, I've been there, I am there, but that's not necessarily cultivating in a sort of spiritual journey. I mean, I guess depends on what you're watching, but so it really is, the effort is really important. The diligence is really important. Working hard is really important. And in this, kind of context, in this practice, it's really looking at how hard do we work at cultivating a sense of peace and happiness within our own lives. And somebody asked a question on Saturday, without getting too much into it. Someone was asking a question about where they were at now, and I was kind of drawing a connection to, myself having been where they are currently. And they said, well, how do you go from there, to a certain point? And I said, well, it requires effort, and I was tried to be very clear that I wasn't calling anyone out, but, if you cultivate a spiritual practice once a week for an hour, it's going to take you a long time. I love the fact that there are people that come here once a week for an hour, once a month for an hour, or whatever it is, or you meditate for 20 minutes. That's great. And it's not even about being here. It doesn't matter where you are. But if your focus on a spiritual practice is 1 hour a week, what do you do in the rest of the hours? And then you ask yourself, like, why am I still struggling? Why is everything so difficult? Why am I still so attached? Why am I still getting so angry? Why am I being triggered so quickly? Right? And you ponder those things when you're sitting in places like this. And it really can. I'm always encouraging people to go to other temples. You ponder those things when you're sitting here. But when you're sitting here, it's not the problem. The problem is, how are you cultivating your spiritual journey when you're not in here? And that's where you really begin to see huge changes in your life. It's not about being here. Are you bringing these practices into every other area of your life? The practice of generosity, morality, patience, diligence, concentration, and wisdom. Do those teachings permeate throughout the rest of your day? And if they don't, then there's your answer as to why you're struggling. It's really simple. I mean, I look at Buddhist teachings as just very practical, logical, common sense stuff. So if we're angry a lot, then we need to practice more compassion in other areas of our lives. It's just a very simple, to me, it's very simple. It's really hard to do, but it's not that complicated. Practice this stuff outside of the temple, and your life will change. Do stuff at temple once an hour, once a week, twice a week, not much. It'll just take longer. So, with this stuff, really, kind of the more you put into it, the more you benefit from it. So, with that, we'll start with the meditation practice. To those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Feel free to say hello as you are. Where's the dude who's from Colorado? That was funny. Just came in. Where are you at? You left already? There you are. Yeah. Where in Colorado are you from? Oh, nice. My brother went to Boulder, and my nephew. Yeah. No, I just talked to you right before I came in, and then I sat down, and it said good evening from Lakewood, Colorado. So, but you were just out there, so I thought somehow you went from there to here. A lot of problems up here. Yeah. All right. So, a couple things to tell you before we begin the meditation practice. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. Not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you are on a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward, allows the back to straighten. If you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, also just trying to sit up straight, relaxing the shoulders, Hands are on the knees or lap, whatever's comfortable. Especially for those who are new, you're not going to shut your mind off. It's not going to go blank. You're not going to think nothing. Your mind will continue to race. I'll say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought or bring you back to present moment. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, feel them fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice, just sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, just sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move, and most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around you or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external situation. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in, and where you think you're going. Your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, and disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It's direct perception into the present moment. And present moment, as we know all too well, is often filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. This is life. This practice is learning to be with life as it arises and becoming aware of everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do in each moment. This is your karma. Karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma is not you or others getting what they deserve. Karma is not about what people deserve. That is an incredibly poor translation of the word karma. Karma literally means action. We generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, mind. So what we think, what we say, and what we do. So our karma is not about what we get, it's what we bring into the world with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. So this practice is about being mindful and aware of your karma, meaning what do you think, what do you say, and what do you do? That's it. We spend so much time trying to fix, change, control, manipulate those around us, hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, wishing they would do that. So much time focused on the actions of others. And I'm not suggesting that the actions of others are not important. They are. But this practice is about what you bring into the world. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself and everybody else. That's it. And that never changes. And that's what I mean when I say it's just a practice, not one to just sit and talk about and use to solve problems and to read about. I mean, please talk about it. Please use it to solve your problems and please read about it. But that's not why it's there. It's there for you to practice. Putting it into every area of your life, every moment of your life. That is the practice. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. To those joining virtually, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Feel free to say hello as you are. On the chat box there, somewhere on your screen. If you have any questions, put them in there. I'll do my best to respond. We'll use the rest of our brief time this evening for questions. Yeah?
How can I send my body with love and kindness?
How can you send? Accept.
My body, how it is.
The physical body?
Yes.
Yeah. So the question is, how can you accept your physical body with love and kindness?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, 2 questions. One, how do you currently accept it?
Sometimes I do, sometimes not.
Well, you use what you said was you want to learn to accept your body with love and kindness, right? So if it's not being accepted with love and kindness, what words would you use to say how you accept it currently?
We have many aspects that are my own, my skin, my weight.
Okay, so many aspects you don't like about the skin or the weight. So that was kind of my second question, which you answered a bit with the first question. So you are literally talking about the physical makeup of the body, right? And so your question is around how to accept it. Yeah. So in Buddhist teachings, there's this, to sum it up, it's referred to as non-duality. And this idea that we create this illusion that something is better than something else. And so the only reason, to use your words, right, that you would want, what was the first thing you said about the body? The color? The skin color?
Not a color, just
Just the skin. Okay, so the skin, the makeup of the skin. So the only reason, sorry, I just had a Twilight Zone episode pop into my head, which I think was one of the great, do you remember the Twilight Zone? You see that show? Okay. I think I will tell the story then, because it's one of the best episodes I ever saw, and I think it's such a deep, beautiful Buddhist teaching. But let me finish my first thought, and then I'll use this. The only reason that, or one reason I should say, that one would struggle with the acceptance of their skin is because they are comparing it to what they think it should look like. Does that make sense? If you had no notion of skin looking any differently than how your skin is, would you have a problem with your skin? No. You have a problem with your skin because you think your skin looks one way versus other people's skin looking other ways, right? There's a Twilight Zone episode. I'm sure you could probably get on YouTube or somewhere, but the whole episode is a woman who thinks she's just ugly. And she wants to have a procedure done, some sort of surgery, right? This is Twilight Zone. This is going back, right? Before the stuff you can get done today. And to sum it up, what happens is this whole thing, they never show the face of the doctors or, the nurses in the room, anyone doing this procedure. And so then at some point in time, and it's been many years since I've seen it, you see her just covered in bandages. So it's coming time they're going to start taking the bandages off to show, did this procedure make her beautiful? And they take the bandages off, and it ends up that it didn't really change her at all. But she is what, to the viewer, is supposed to be perceived as this beautiful woman. Then they finally show the doctors and the nurses and the medical staff, and they have these like alien looking faces, right? Ones that we might look at and say, they're not beautiful. What this is showing us is it's just a matter of perception. When you begin to see that there is no value whatsoever, literally at all, no meaning at all in the way anybody looks. Zero. Does the way you look, or I look, or anyone else in here look, mean anything about who you are? No. To whoever said yes. Hang on. In your mind, what's your name? Mark. I'm going to stick with Mark. Hang on. This is serious. In your mind, you think the way you look means something. Only because you think other people are assigning some story about you based on how you look. Therefore, you begin to adopt these stories into your mind based on what other people have said and what you have said based on how other people look. So you spend your life comparing yourself to others. What our physical body looks like means nothing. Buddhist teachings on impermanence says we come together for a period of time and we will cease to exist. Our bodies come together for a period of time and will cease to exist. Our bodies are constantly changing. Our bodies will someday become dust, ash, gone, done. The only thing that matters from a Buddhist perspective is your consciousness, is your mind, is your heart. So part of accepting that is understanding that if people, as I'm sure we all do, no offense to any enlightened ones in this room, if people are going to roam around and in their own ignorance judge people based on the way they look, that's their mess, not yours. So the practice is to internalize that and say, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about how I look. That's their ignorance. What matters is what's in my mind and what's in my heart. Now, here's the other crazy thing about looks, appearances. Mirrors, right? I talk about this a lot, where people will come here and similar questions, different ways asked. And, right, take, for example, people who comb their hair in front of a mirror. Few of us, we don't have to worry about that anymore, right? But before you come here, you're getting ready, you're combing your hair. You walk to the front of the house or wherever you live. Maybe there's a mirror by the door. You look at your hair again. Then you get into the car or however you got here. You look in the mirror again. Then you get here, you're almost walking up. You open up your bag or whatever. You go in the bathroom. You look at your hair again. Some of you right now are like flipping your hair because you're worried about how it looks, right? We don't even see it. It means nothing. But we are so conditioned. Billions of dollars are spent telling you what you should look like and what you should not look like. That is the lie. You ever seen Fight Club? Fight Club, The Matrix, Groundhog Day addresses all of this stuff. We are stuck thinking and being told that our skin should look a certain way. Your skin, my skin, everybody else's skin looks how it looks. And it means nothing. Now, I'm not saying people don't use the condition of skin, the color of skin especially as well, to put labels and judgments on things and people. They do. We do. It's disgusting that we do that. But this practice is not about changing how other people view you. It's helping you understand that the way you look physically means nothing about who you are. And that is not an easy practice because you're how old? 22? 32. All right. Well, you look young, right? Your whole life, you have been judging yourself. Our whole lives, we've been judging ourselves. So it's not easy to get over that. But what you look like means nothing. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I've been doing my spiritual practice for 12 years now.
Mm.
And so I have different ways, like guided meditation, the sound waves, binaural beats, here with silence. What would you say in your perspective would be not the best, but a better form of doing my own, like, a new form of a journey for trying to get to where I want to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like I don't, and I mean, even you said like not the best, because I wouldn't ever suggest that there's like a best way to practice. I think there are different ways to practice. And I think when you're, like, how long have you been on the spiritual journey? It's new to you, right? 12 years. So it's new, right? So as you're beginning, even 12 years in, I'm kind of teasing. It's a good amount of time to be working on it. It's not about the practice ever being necessarily better, or often people say, like, I want to go deeper with my spiritual practice. It's just consistency. It's repetitions. It's day in and day out. Can you ponder today? I don't need the story, but can you ponder today? I mean, it's 7:40 by now. Did something happen today that made you upset? Yesterday. Okay, that's pretty good. So you didn't get upset today at all. Beautiful, right? So what I'm getting at is each day we have things that bother us, get us upset, trigger us, whatever it might be. So you don't need to change your spiritual practice. You don't need to like switch it up a bit. You don't need to do more. My suggestion is to the rest of tonight or tomorrow, when the things arise like it did yesterday, pause for a moment and look at it and say, do I really need to be upset about this? And there are things that yeah, I mean, fair enough, valid. Like there are things that, you know, on this human level, we're probably never going to not be upset over. But my guess is pretty often you'll get upset about things that like really don't matter, right?
Yes.
Right. They only matter until the next thing that happens that doesn't matter. And then you've replaced, you know, so each day it's like new things that don't matter upset us. And then, yes, there are very heavy, serious, traumatic things that do matter, but the little things. So to me, spiritual practice isn't about like extending your meditation or going to a monastery or reading another Buddhist book. It's about looking at practicing loving kindness and compassion, right? Forgiveness, patience in just your everyday routine life. Does that make sense? That's to me how you deepen your practice. When you're in an argument with a friend, you know, a family member's driving you crazy. Welcome to the holidays, man. 'Tis the season, yeah? So this is a great time to practice. To me, that is deepening your spiritual practice and improving it, you know? Yeah. There's a question here. Earlier you said that compassion is an effective remedy to anger. What is the remedy to attachment? So just to kind of sum up, for those who might be new, Buddhist teachings, Four Noble Truths, very basic teaching. Life is filled with dukkha, suffering, discomfort, angst, first noble truth. It doesn't mean all of life sucks. It just means you're going to experience a lot of difficulty and challenges in your life. Second one is the cause, and this is really what the question is getting at. The cause of our suffering is greed, anger, and ignorance, craving, desire, etc. So we overcome greed, and I'll talk about this in a minute, with generosity, anger with compassion, and ignorance with wisdom. The third noble truth is the ending of suffering, liberation, freedom from suffering. And the fourth is the path, the Eightfold Path, working on having correct views, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. All of that on Google for free, and you're good to go. The question about attachment. So very often in life, we struggle with attachments to very heavy, serious things. You know, we lose loved ones, family, friends, animals, you know, things that are really, they're important to us. And so we struggle a lot with these attachments. But I find throughout practice that a lot of us are attached to a lot of things that don't really matter, right? I've done this with college kids before. Like, will there be a, you know, college kid sitting here and a question about attachment comes up, and I'll ask the kid, hand me your cell phone. And it's like painful for them to like have the cell phone be further away from their hand than like a foot, you know? And I shouldn't even say that about college kids. I'm filled in a room of people, myself included. Here is my cell phone, you know? So for me, the way to practice attachment, craving, desire, greed, all of these things, as the Buddha taught, is to practice generosity. It is to give. Always to give. It's very fundamental core Buddhist teachings. The root cause of all suffering. The first one is greed, craving, desire, this attachment. Our greatest attachment is to the sense of self. And because we think we are so incredibly important, we spend our entire lives protecting ourselves and what we find so dear. Now, the Buddha taught dana, which is generosity. It's not about money. He said the greatest form of dana, of generosity you can practice, is to give the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. And it doesn't necessarily mean give like a Dharma talk or a teaching. It means to practice the Dharma. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity. These are the 4 Brahma Viharas. To practice, in other words, forgiveness. To practice morality, to practice patience. So in the giving of the Dharma, we are impacting the lives of those around us. And when we impact the lives of those around us, right? When you help people, how do you feel? Good. So help people. When you help people, you make it not about you. All of the attachments in our lives center around one thing. Me. Everything I'm attached to stems from my ultimate attachment to my sense of self. But when I see that I kind of earlier comments, when I am just this impermanent thing that has come together for a period of time and will cease to exist, I could die tonight. I could die 50 years from now. I don't know. But one day I'm going to be dust. I will be ash, just like the incense stick. I am lit. I am burning. Every breath, one moment closer to death. So what am I holding on to? Again, we're not monks, we're not nuns, but that's when the Buddha left home and chose the renunciate path, the life of a monk. That's what it was about. Renunciate path is not about becoming a monk or nun. It's renouncing everything in this kind of worldly possessions and these pleasures that we're so attached to. Why? Because we think they're so important. Because we think they give us comfort and safety and protection. In actuality, all these things, the things and the stuff and the stuff and the stuff, that just keeps us stuck. There's a great George Carlin skit called Stuff, for those of you who've seen it. But in brief, the greatest attachment is the attachment we have to our sense of self and understanding how we take care of others. That helps us. And in other ways, just look at silly stuff we have that doesn't mean anything and just move it out of our lives. Practice with simple things that don't mean anything. Yeah.
How does non-attachment coexist with love?
Yeah.
Functionally.
Yeah. So the question was, how does non-attachment coexist with love functionally? So you've probably heard me say this before, but non-attachment is love. They're not opposites. They're not separate. When we hear the word attachment, then yes, the kind of opposite or counter to that is the practice of non-attachment. And when people hear non-attachment, they often kind of twist that, and very often people use the term detached or unattached. It's not a severing. It's not a cutting off of. Non-attachment is not closing off. It's not shutting off. It's not caring. Non-attachment is love. You ever really cared about someone, yet expected a lot from them? And been really angry and pissed off and miserable when you didn't get what you were expecting? That's attachment. That's not love. That's expectations. That's putting on pressure on others. Non-attachment is loving them regardless of what they do. It is like the love one would have for a child. Once they reach a certain age, they're going to do what they want, right? I mean, most kids stop listening to parents at some point in time. And then you fast forward like 30 years and they're like, my kid won't listen to me. As if they listen to their parent, truly. But the kids on their own will start making their own choices. Non-attachment is to love them regardless of the choices they make, because they have their own journey, as does anyone in any relationship we encounter. So non-attachment is to love without pressure, without expectations, without obligations, without guilt, right? I mean, think of relationships you've ever been in where you say, I was so in love with the person. Well, were you so in love with them, or were you just trying to control them and manipulate them and expect them to do everything you wanted? And you just called that love, because that's what we think it is. That's not it. Love is to love somebody regardless of what they do. Regardless. It doesn't mean you have to stay with them. It doesn't mean you have to be with them. It doesn't mean you have to, doesn't mean you have to keep these people in your lives. I'm not referring to children, by the way. Keep them in your lives. Right? I'm just talking about more like, friendships, intimate relationships, right? There's no Buddhist teaching, for those who are new, that says, if you're in and I mean this very seriously, if you're in unhealthy, toxic, dangerous situations, abusive situations, remove yourself from these situations. There's no Buddhist teachings that says, well, stay there, right? But love without expectation and pressure and guilt, manipulation, that is non-attachment. So yeah. What else? Yeah.
It's my first time here.
Welcome.
And finally,
Hi, friend of yours. I can't see. I can't really see. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, go ahead.
It's like you're talking to me literally because I'm losing my hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick. And when you see me like that, it's completely different than when you see me with this.
It's actually not.
What you do?
You look just as beautiful now as you did before.
How do I accept it for myself?
Okay.
The world treats me differently and it actually all people.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
do I handle that?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
It matters to you.
Because I am a person in service.
Yeah.
And you have to be a person in service. People treat me differently.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm wearing this or not.
Yes.
Whether I'm wearing a wig or not.
Yes.
How do I discern? I still love myself. I'm trying to do other right things. Because service gives you love.
Mm-hmm.
How do I accept when people are just me?
Yeah.
Actually me, clearly me. You could just tell when they feel gross for me. I just don't want you around. You're not you're a pretty friend and you said that.
Yeah, I hear you. I really do. And I feel for you. As always, I don't know and cannot put myself in the shoes of anybody else for anything they're going through for whatever reason. I've been doing this a long time. I've sat with people and held their hands as they've died. I've sat with people who've murdered. I've sat with people who've raped. I've sat with people who've lost all their hair. I cannot be any of them. I can just be me. But what I can tell you is same kind of question as earlier, similar response to your comment about I view you differently. So that's, and I'm gonna be like, I only know one way here. What's your name? Lizette? Yeah. So my hope is that this is received in a way with like the utmost love and respect possible, because that's where it's coming from. So if it comes harshly, that's just Jeff. And you may hate me for it. You asked. All right, I'm just prefacing this a little bit. First time here, you're crying, you're going through a lot right now, and I just feel like the only way I can answer this to my fullest ability is to be very direct with you. What you said to me was, as you then took your wig off, you said to me, and now you view me differently. So you were assuming, hang on. You were assuming that I was viewing you differently. I was not. Now, that's the first thing I want to say. You're projecting that everybody is going to view you differently because of something. That is not true. I can't speak for anybody else, but I did not view you any differently before or after. To the second part, yes. And as you said, you're in a position of service and people view you differently. People are mean. Yes, they are. People are mean. And that's their mess, not yours. I'm not sitting here saying that the way we look doesn't have an impact in our society. Absolutely. Ask a person of color if the way they look has an effect on them in society. Absolutely, it does. But the way a person of color looks does not change who they are. It changes how they're treated. And this is what your question is about, what I heard, which was not just how do you accept it, but how you're being treated. If people are mean to you, that's their mess. Them being mean to you says nothing about who you are. You may have more difficulty. Absolutely. It might make certain things in your life more challenging. Absolutely. I can't speak to that. I could only agree with you if that's what you're saying, but it doesn't determine who you are, which is what I'm trying to tell you. You know who was mean to people for the first 25 years of his life? This guy. I'm not kidding. And it was never about them. Me being mean to people was my suffering. not theirs. Me picking on people was my pain, not theirs. Me being a bully was my ignorance, not theirs. It was never about them. So the people who are mean to you means they're miserable. They're suffering. And I'm not saying you have to say, like, enjoy that. But what I'm trying to help you see, right? At least I made you laugh. That's good, right? What I'm trying to help you see is that them being mean to you and you going through what you're going through is not about who you are. It doesn't change who you are. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. We'll do one more before we close. If it's a quick one. Yeah.
You're talking about karma, and there's three aspects. One of them is the way you think.
Yeah.
How, like, sometimes I don't like the way I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to change something you're not fitting.
Yeah.
How are you, like,
Yeah. I got it. You don't need to say
all
anymore.
right, thank you.
Yeah. So the question was, I talked about karma being three ways, body, speech, mind, what we think, what we say, what we do. And your comment was, sometimes you don't like the way you think. How do you change that, right? I don't like the way I think. I've been doing this practice a long time. I do not like the way I think. I gave up a long time ago. This is the best thing I can tell you. I gave up a long time ago trying to change how I think. My conditioned patterns and behaviors of thinking have been around for 50 years, and that's just if I'm looking at one life. Not to mention if there is a past and I came in with a consciousness, whatever. My way of thinking is not going to change much. A little bit. But what happens after you think? Very often, then you say stuff. And then you act. So what I learned from my teacher in this practice was my thought patterns slowly over time will change slightly. I'm not saying you're never going to change the way you think. I do think differently than I did, say, 20 years ago, right? But the thoughts are still there, but you don't act on them. You don't speak to them. You pause before you react, right? I'll tell one final story, and on a heavy night, it'll get you all laughing again, which is always good. So years ago, I was teaching or leading a meditation class at KPBS, and it was a 20-year-old college kid who was an intern there. We were there once a week, Monday, doesn't matter. And he'd been doing meditation all of like 3 weeks. And I came in on a Monday and I was, how you guys doing? And Cole was like, I'm great. I was at a party this weekend and I realized how this meditation practice can really help me. And I said, what happened? He said, well, I was there and this guy was talking to my girlfriend and I got really angry. And I realized I was probably going to get into a fight. I should take some deep breaths and walk away. And I said, that's beautiful. What happened? And he said, I punched him. And I looked at him and I said, Cole, congratulations. That's progress. He's like, Jeff, I got into a fight. What do you mean? And I said, yes, but there was a moment after just 3 weeks. He realized his anger was there. His frustration was there. He wanted to hit the guy. And he thought, I should take some deep breaths and walk away. He didn't. But 4 weeks ago, prior to that, he never would have even had the thought that he should do something different. So the actions that follow the thoughts, focus on that. When you have the thoughts that you don't like, if there's a situation where they can be expressed, whether it's, speaking or typing or social media or whatever it is, stop. When you have the thoughts that you don't like that would lead to you taking actions that are unhealthy for self and others, that are dangerous to self and others, that are toxic to self and others, don't act on them. So in order of importance, don't try to fix your thoughts. Try to be mindful and aware of what you say and what you do. And as you plant seeds of speaking kind words and doing kind deeds in kind of a reverse, weird way of looking at it, that's just how I do it, it begins to change the cultivation of the thoughts, the karmic seeds that we are planting. The more kind things we do, the more kind words we speak, I believe in some weird reverse way, then our thoughts become kinder and gentler. So, but if you just focus on like, how come I'm not thinking differently, you're going to get frustrated and think, well, this is not working. And then you're frustrated and then you act on those thoughts, and that's terrible. So, all right, I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right. Before y'all head out, our Dharma Bum host, Eddie, has a few announcements for us. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah, we always say 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name's tonight's host. My name is Eddie. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website, and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and give it back whenever you're done with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and watch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again soon.
Thanks, Eddie. Thank you all.